Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy, and joining me this morning again, Hartwell. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
So, the topic that you chose for today, sorry, is the activation sequence. So, can you tell us what that is?
Yes. For those who have been following along with our little program, we talked a lot about human design, primarily about human design, but we've also talked a lot about Richard Rudd and his work with the gene keys. And this is something that arises from him. He, in his work with the gene keys, he sees there being three primary ways of working with it, or you could say maybe three different sequences. The first sequence is the activation of your genius sequence, which is what we're going to be talking about today. The other two are the activation of the experience, the opening to love sequence, and the cultivating prosperity. But today we're focusing on that activation sequence.
Mm-hmm. So, can you get more into it and tell us exactly what the activation sequence is?
Yes. To activate your genius, we're working with our four primary gifts. In human design language, you would say that's your personality, sun and earth, and your design is sun and earth. The four aspects that make up your incarnation cross.
Yeah.
These are your four gifts. So the activation sequence works with those,
Mm-hmm.
um, and sees them as a process of unlocking and creating a kind of a core stability in your life. Um, it might be useful to give a little background on the primary process that Richard Rudd speaks about. He would call it contemplation. And he makes a distinction between what's called the left hand path, which is the path, which the left hand path is the path of meditation. And in meditation, we watch, we wait, we listen, we witness, we allow everything that arises. So we, in meditation, in the left-hand path, we go with, we work with what emerges, and we release all resistance to whatever arises. And it takes effort in order to do that releasing. The right-hand path is called concentration. And this is a path when we engage with concentration, and in that in that camp we would think of prayer, Christian prayer. Active praying would be active path, would be concentration. Zen, focusing on a koan, until we unlock it through dealing with the paradox, that would be this path of concentration. Yoga would be a path of concentration. All of these require effort. Effort is applied in all of these paths to move toward the truth. Now, contemplation is, in a sense, a no-hand path. It's in the middle. It says, apply a sustained, there's a requirement for sustained concentration to create the conditions for breakthrough. But that is done in a gentler way, where we don't push so hard in a particular direction. What we do in that case is that we cultivate a state of relaxation, a state of play, where there is focus, but it is gentler, and it is done more in a spirit of play, exploration, and appreciation for the mystery of life. Does that make sense?
I'm sure.
So, contemplation is what we're talking about here, and what
Mm-hmm.
Richard Rudd is talking about. Effort applied, but in a relaxed and playful way, towards the engagement with the gene keys.
Mm-hmm. So, like, how does all of that work? Like, when you're talking about the right hand and the left hand path.
Well, I brought those up as a way of showing the defining them so that we could, in a sense, define contemplation by what it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Contemplation is not an intense search. It's a playful appreciation of mystery, content to enjoy the journey itself. So, what do we do with that?
So, yeah, like when it comes to that, so how do you activate the genius sequence? Like, what are the different steps now that you've defined contemplation?
Yes. Well, we start with the personality sun. Richard Rudd calls it the sphere of your life's work, and your personality earth is your evolution. It's what grounds you. The radiance is your design sun, the left side of your chart, and your life's purpose is your design earth. So we start with the personality sun, with your life's work. And as we remember from our past explorations with the gene keys, each gene key has 3 words, and those words relate to the shadow frequency, which is a frequency that arises is based on fear, you could say. And the gift sequence or gift frequency, which is based on love. And then at the higher frequencies, as we rise towards an experience of oneness with all life, that gives rise to the Siddhic, the
Mm-hmm.
divine gift of each gene key. So we start with our sun, our life's gift, our life's
Purpose.
the
Yeah.
purpose is our life's work.
Yeah.
Our life's work. It can be life's work and purpose. We got to remember that. So we start with that. We take the 3 and we say, okay, what is the shadow frequency? What is the shadow frequency? For my sun, which is in gate 1, the shadow frequency is entropy. And that moves to freshness and then it moves to beauty. So you start with that contemplation. What are those 3 words? How do they land in me? Especially, how does that shadow, my fear-based experience of entropy, how does that show up in my life? How has that showed up in my life? There's all sorts of things that I can point to as experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I bring that into my consciousness and get familiar with it, I work with the shadow. And working with a shadow has 3 parts, according to Rudd. First, we allow it. We allow ourselves to face, to feel, to see, to know, to contemplate that shadow. So allowing comes first. And after we do that enough, something shifts and we accept that this is a feature of our life.
Mm-hmm.
We have released some of our resistance and some of our fear about it. And then acceptance gradually gives way to our ability to embrace. This is a part of my life. It's not going anywhere. It's not overly scary. I don't have to judge myself for it. I don't have to think I'm a bad person for having this experience of entropy.
Mm-hmm.
And as we do that, we begin to transform our very DNA. We begin to move out of that feeling, that experience of fear, and we gain access to the genius level of our lives, which is the gift. So I take that. I take that one gene key, and now I start to. I think about my evolution, my personality earth. And for me, I start with the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
That
So,
shadow for me is dislocation. Did you have a question there, Kris?
Well, no, just I was noticing in your notes you had specific terms for the three steps. So you had said the pathway of challenge, the pathway of breakthrough, and the pathway of core
Yes.
stability. So
Yes.
where do those tie in?
Contemplating
Activate.
contemplating the relationship
Mhm,
between your personality sun, your life's work, which is your life's work, and your
mhm,
evolution. That's a path of challenge.
mhm,
It is that first step into a embrace of who you are on a fundamental level. Because
mhm,
remember, these four prime gifts are the foundation of our lives. They're 70% of our programming. So as you work with the relationship between the life's work and the evolution, you, in a sense, take up the challenge of your life. You face your life fully, directly. You embrace what is. The second step, the pathway of breakthrough, it arises from the contemplation um, of the relationship between your design, your personality, Earth, that's the evolution, and the sun on the other side, the sun on the left side of your chart, which is your radiance.
mhm,
Now, you see, this taps into and builds a bridge between the conscious part of you and the physical body part of you. The radiance has to do with your body. And so, as you build a relationship between the shadows of those two, over time, contemplation eventually, in its playful, winding, mysterious way, leads to breakthrough. And this is where you can actually feel some sense of healing in your body.
mhm.
You know, where it actually you feel a physical shift because you're making that link. So for me, I'd be contemplating the relationship between dislocation, my feeling of being lost, my feeling of losing the plot in my life. You know, where am I? Why am I here? It's like I don't know what's happening, where I'm going. This feeling of dislocation is very familiar to me. And contemplating the relationship between that and intolerance, which is the shadow for me of my radiance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just was like you're just combining a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I'm trying to just follow along. It's all good.
Yeah. So along the way, um, if you're familiar with human design, you're familiar with the profile. The profile arises from the gate, the line numbers that your sun and earth are in on both sides. So the lines are also important in this process. So there are keynotes for the lines that you can that feed into this contemplation process as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have time to do that today, but that's also part of it. And the final pathway, the final pathway is the pathway of core stability, the relationship between your radiance and your life's purpose, which is your design Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, as you contemplate the relationship between those, building upon the work that you've done in the previous steps, all the time gaining, in a sense, what you're developing with these three pathways, the pathway of challenge, breakthrough, and core stability, is that you are fully incarnating into your body and into your life. And you are creating the platform which is going to create stability in your life in all ways and allow you to rise up into that genius frequency of who you are. So it's a really exciting thing. It's exciting in terms of what it can deliver to you as insight and real felt shift in your life.
Hmm.
It's not exciting.
Well, it sounds like a fairy tale story to me.
Yeah, it's not exciting in the sense that um, in our day and age, we're all about rushing and instant results. This is not an
Hmm.
instant result kind of a thing. But if you're
Hmm.
familiar at all with any kind of spiritual path, you know that it's not an instant thing.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of the basic of what I wanted to say.
Hmm.
Um, I put the numbers here of yours and mine. I've shared mine just because
Hmm.
it's right there for me.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to share about what you're feeling about this process? Because you've
Mhm.
been engaging somewhat with the gene keys for quite some time now, Kris.
Um, I think that working through the evolution from the shadow to the city side seems like such a long path. And like you said, for us in this world of instant gratification, it can seem overwhelming. Especially, I find with my design is very um, I feel it's very responsibility weighted. So there's a lot of
Mm,
responsibility carried with the city of each of mine. So working through it can be a challenge because it means stepping into something which is leadership based, um, which sometimes can be intimidating in activating all of those shadow sides of it. Um, Especially when it comes to things like, control. So it's very easy to step into, oh, I'll just do it and control the situation versus allowing things to unfold, like giving the structure and allowing things to unfold.
right. And just for our viewers, control is Chris's shadow word for Gate 21, her life's work.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's very, very easy to try and step in and control situations. Um, yeah, instead of just allowing that to evolve through creating that structure. Um,
Hmm.
Struggle was always a part of my life, um, as well as the perseverance side is there's a whole um, trust thing with that because then you have to decide is it an alignment for me or is it not? Because
Right. Is
yeah,
it is it worthwhile for you to be persevering?
yeah, and it can create that, oh well, it's not working, I'll just give up and move on kind of um, attitude. So instead of really sitting with it and saying, well, is this really worth putting my time and effort into? Like, is there going to be um, something come out of this? Because we all know that I also have the gate 40 4 times that willpower, which,
Hmm.
has created um, a lot of issues for me in my life because I can just keep going like the Energizer Bunny until I can't anymore. So it's
Yeah.
like the discernment of what you put your um, time and effort into is important. So that radiance, that that's gate of struggle, I can see very much in my life.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I like I'm enjoying hearing you reflect on these things
Hmm.
because it really draws out the point here that should any of us embark upon this process, it's going to look different for each of us. And as we listen to you, Kris, I can start to hear your story unfolding.
Hmm.
And I mean, I know some of your story, but I can start to feel what's behind that.
Hmm.
And engaging with this genius activation sequence, it is about embracing your story
Hmm.
and coming to peace with it and rising up out of accepting accepting those aspects that are hard, that are shadowy, that are that we would rather not experience. And it begins to bubble up and change sort of the experience behind all of those things. And I can hear that as I listen to you. And it's very clear to me also that, as I talk about my own, there's a story and it's a very distinct and different one from yours,
Well,
and that's cool too.
but
So
we're all unique. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So, I mean, at some point, I hope to join with like-minded folks who want to, be on some kind of contemplative path and maybe have some kind of, I don't know, maybe some kind of, I'm still thinking about this, but some kind of ongoing group where we share and support each other to kind of work in this contemplative way and find the fun in it.
Well, we can create that
Yeah, we
anytime you
can.
want. We have a space for it.
But when I was preparing for this talk today, I was thinking about, I mean, there is a weightiness, there is a particular quality to your incarnation cross, as you just mentioned.
Yeah.
But I was also, when I was thinking about Richard's Rudd description of what contemplation is, kind of a relaxed and fun way to explore the mystery without too much pressure. I was thinking, I know how much you like play.
Well, I think that's why God gave me 30 lightness.
Yeah.
I'm always making fun of stuff. Otherwise, it would feel like there's never any relief, right? That I
Gotta
get.
love that gate 30, which is lightness and rapture. Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah. So we have your human design course up as well. If people are interested in partaking in that, you can just contact us here at Clair-i-tea. So if you want to dive deeper and get more information, you can also do sessions with Hartwell here. Is there anything else that you're up to that you want to mention? Now we can start a group.
Yeah. That, as I say, is a sort of an impulse that is playing with me. It's not mature yet. It's like a seed that's not germinated. So, if you're interested potentially in something like that, reach out to us in some form, and see if there's enough interest that might. I'm a projector. Remember, I respond to what is called out of me.
The generators of the world, get busy.
Yeah. Tell me, make use of me if that's aligned for you. But I am excited. I've been this fall where I'm teaching a human design class called Claiming the Gift of Your True Self. And so its aim is to give people the tools to work with human design and gene keys in a way that'll help them claim their gifts. And we're most of the way through. That's why it's now available, to begin, because we'll be by the time you, it is in the course of being delivered to real live students. But those of you who are interested can jump on and catch up to us, so to speak.
Yeah, well, only one. It's a week thing, right? You release
a week
one,
by week thing.
then
So
you
that's
contemplate and do your homework, and then the next one is released on the online version. Yeah. So, is that anything else before we wrap up here?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you all for stopping by and playing with us today. We hope to see you next week, and I'm assuming we're either going to dive into the love sequence or the prosperity sequence. I guess it'll be a surprise. You'll just have to show up next week and find out which one it is. So with that, we'll say God bless. Have a wonderful day and stay warm. It's getting chilly out there. Bye, everybody.